Welcome to the Trading Bell. I'm Malika Kazia. And wow, what an exciting season 2 it has been. We've had leaders from so many sectors joining us on the Trading Bell this time around. We've had people from manufacturing, we've had people from banking, we've had leaders from real estate and beyond. All of this throughout the season. So today we're doing things a little bit differently. We're going to give you some of the highlights of the incredible personalities we've had on season 2 of the Trading Bell. All this and more coming up. Here we go.
Rebecca, it's our first interview with you since you became CEO, and perhaps KenGen has been very active in the securities exchange, being a listed company. And what sort of impact has this had on the operations of the parastatal, as well as how you run your governance issues?
I'll go back to pre-listing days, prior to 2006, when KenGen was not listed.
Sure.
Kenyans will remember the situation then, where demand was much more than the supply of power. We do recall there were outages frequent, there was power rationing, and most of the times we would get power only 3 days a week. So that is the picture before then.
I remember those days.
Yes, but upon listing, we had to think outside the box, do a transformation, get to the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and we thank the NSC for providing a platform and an opportunity to enable us to raise funds so that we could undertake projects, and especially those that are not reliant on hydro. As you are aware, hydro is really dependent on weather, and every time there was a drought then, obviously there wouldn't be power. And through the NSC, we have been able to diversify and get into geothermal big time. And geothermal does not depend on the weather. And so we have reliability in the supply of power. We are proud to note that currently we have adequate power, and outages and rationing are things of the past.
It's more of a throwback, as the younger generation would say.
Yes.
And Rebecca, you steered the legal department, and of course rising through to now being the CEO. And of course, many of our viewers perhaps do not really understand the mandate of KenGen. Some confuse it with what Kenya Power is doing. Could you just give us in a nutshell what KenGen does?
The main mandate of KenGen is to generate power and sell it in bulk to Kenya Power. Then the off-taker distributes that power to the suppliers. It is sort of a retail, but we are the wholesalers of power.
M-Akiba is something that is accessible, it's affordable for the ordinary Kenyan. Because when you talk about buying into the treasury bills, you'd need 100,000 minimum. This is 3,000 shillings. It's all on a mobile platform. You just need to dial *889#. Right?
Right.
How have you seen the uptake so far now that you've opened once again, the reopening? What has been the reaction from Kenyans?
The M-Akiba product is really a disruptor for how people will own government instruments. So the whole objective of M-Akiba was actually to encourage Kenyans to save, and also to save for development of the country, and because the projects that M-Akiba targets are basically the infrastructure projects that the government is working on. And in order for us to make it a lot easier, we had to come up with a product that enables Kenyans access it easily, understand it easily, and make it very, very feasible for them to really buy and sell them at a very easy, using a very easy mechanism.
Once you put in that 3,000, you can top up in denominations of 500 after that point. So if you've paid the initial 3,000 for the primary, then you're free to add as much post that, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of the application amounts, of course, if you're going to use the USSD, which is not the USSD, but you're going to use the telecom channel, then we go up to the maximum 140,000 per day. So you have to buy it. If you top up and reach your 140, then the next day you can go up to another 140. But we also have the Pesalink channel that takes you up to about 1 million a day.
Yeah.
So those options are there, and we decided to accommodate the large investors who would like to also put in a reasonable amount by opening up a Pesalink channel. So I must say the infrastructure is working very well. So in case anybody faces any glitches, we also have a call center. So there's a whole ecosystem that is functioning extremely well.
So a lot of people have been asking, what about those in the diaspora?
Yeah.
Is this something accessible for them as well?
Makiba is accessible to Kenyans, whether in the diaspora or here, as long as you have an access to your local telco line, because that is the registration. We're using your telephone details or your registration details for your mobile phone details as the KYC proof of ownership. So if you have a Kenyan line, then you can actually buy it. So what I've been able to see, for instance, anybody in diaspora today, you can actually do your transactions on M-Pesa from wherever you are.
Yes.
So if you've got M-Pesa in your line or Airtel, then wherever you are, you can actually buy it. Yeah, but of course you have to have the Kenyan registration.
Michael, such a difficult moment really for the airline. Is the airline still viable?
Yeah, the airlines, look, you have to look at airlines in general. You can't just look at Kenya Airways and say, okay, Kenya Airways made a net loss. If you look at airlines across the world, and I don't really want to compare us, but if you look at airlines across the world, this is a difficult business. Many airlines are in the same situation that we are in. As you've seen in Europe for this last few months, many airlines have gone under. Too much debt, the same situation that we're in. But I think we're in a stronger position. We have a good market position. We have a good number of passengers. We've done better than we did last year. Unfortunately, we came into this, we've inherited somewhat our situation where we're in. If you look at where we came from last year, now, because we're comparing 12 months with 9 months, it looks like our loss has increased. But in fact, our loss has decreased from last year, from 2017. So I think we're doing better. We're not there yet. We have some way to go. Are we in a viable position? I think we are in a strong position still. Okay, we're not in the best position. I would like to have more cash, for sure. I think with the right strategy and with the right support, we are definitely viable.
Of course, Joseph, I do bear with you in the situation you are in, especially when it comes to turning around the airline. But the impatience among Kenyans, among shareholders is rising by the day. Some of the key initiatives that you will be taking moving forward, as much as you've already done a lot of issues when it comes to cost management. At the same time, I heard you talking about issues to do with expanding your fleet. At the same time, you are having a challenging situation from a cash position.
Now look, we cannot, don't get me wrong, we are not going to expand our fleet unless we are in a position to afford to expand our fleet. As we are now, we have no aircraft orders at all. Okay, we're not buying any new aircraft. We're not in a position to do that until we change our financial position. We are not prepared to go back to the government to ask for another injection of funds. We have what we have, and we have to live within our means. If we can find a way to generate more cash through leveraging our current assets, then we will do that, and we'll try to expand our fleet.
There's some other great things that have happened recently. So last year we won Top Employer, but this is with an international institute for employees in Kenya, but also in Africa. So Kenya represented under an African system, and also the Federation of Kenyan Employees voted as best employer 2 years in a row. So last year was the second year. So I think that just shows you that the environment that we've provided for our staff to work in and the sustainability of the business has really come through over the years, and it's really a great place to work.
Amazing. So let's talk about some of the numbers. You posted a 22% increase in profit ending December 2018. So what are some of the factors surrounding that growth that you were able to achieve?
Yeah, so 2018 was a good performance after quite a difficult year before. So we posted 22%, as you said, profit after tax, which took us to around about 4.1 billion Kenyan shillings. So it was a good year, and this is really on the back of three main things. So an increase in demand for our semi-processed leaf that we export outside of Kenya. We have also taken pricing due to excise increases here, which has obviously driven the profitability on the back of excise increases. And also we've been able to reduce our financing costs, which is a big hit usually on the bottom line. So we've had a good performance in three main areas. And I think looking forwards, it's a great foundation, I would say, for further growth looking to 2019 and beyond.
You do focus on offering quality products to your adult consumers, and you have continued to deliver against your strategic priorities. But what are some of your short-term goals as of 2019 to try and even push further when it comes to BAT?
Well, the great thing about BAT Kenya is it's part of the broader British American Tobacco Group. So we have a lot of support from the group in terms of what we would call our portfolio transformation. So really trying to identify what the consumer trends are in the marketplace, how consumers' habits are evolving over time. And because of the size and the scale of the group, we now have access to some potentially reduced risk products, as well as the more traditional cigarette space. So if I look at 2019 and beyond, perhaps we have quite a big agenda to really start driving our transformational strategy, which will offer consumers more choice, reduced risk products potentially, and also greater innovation. So those would be our three areas that we'd be focusing on as a business.
One of the big conversations currently happening is Fuliza. I mean, how innovative are you in terms of meeting the market needs? Looking at how this product has performed so far, I understand you've clocked about 6 billion in terms of since you started it.
You know, it's the power of the partnership. We didn't do this on our own. We can't take full credit for this. So we've been doing this in partnership with our friends at KCB and CBA, a long-term relationship. And we've been working on this thing now for about 2 years. And I think between us, we have a pretty good understanding of what the customer wants. A lot of people say, you know, you're encouraging people to get into more debt. Well, usually these are people who don't really understand what this product is. You talked about 6 billion shillings in about 30 days,
Sure.
which is a lot of money.
That's a lot.
But you know, the average repayment is in it's about 2.8 days. So people really are using this as an overdraft facility to help them complete a transaction when they just don't have enough cash in the wallet. And as soon as you put money into M-Pesa, then it pays off the debt.
And Bob, over time, M-Pesa has emerged as the crown and the jewel, the flagship sort of the company so far. But at the end of it all, we also have the data business, which is also proving to be a force to reckon with.
The two big drivers are M-Pesa and data usage. And as we get more and more smartphone penetration, more and more people will want to use data. And they're using it for a range of things, you know, starting with social media use, but also you can now use it for things like e-commerce. So you can get onto the Masoko site.
Oh, yeah.
And all of that is data usage. So we're seeing the growth of data. Today, average consumption is about 850 MBs per month. And we see that over the next few years growing into being measured in GBs. So, you know, the average, I think, will be 3, 4, 5 GBs a month.
You know what? We're not done just yet. There's much more coming up for you, many more highlights, and of course, a little more in-depth into the Ibuka program that the NSC has going on. All that's coming up right after this short break.